Hey guys, it's Greg with Apple Explained, and today we're going to explore the history of GarageBand, a music creation application available for macOS and iOS devices. This topic was the third place winner of last week's voting poll, and if you didn't get to vote, make sure you're subscribed. That way the voting polls will show up right in your mobile activity feed, and you can let me know which video you'd like to see next. So if you aren't familiar with GarageBand, it's essentially Apple's consumer version of Logic Pro, a professional music making application. GarageBand is included with every Mac and allows users to record music played with real instruments or virtual instruments, and then edit those sounds into a song. Now you might be thinking, okay, that sounds great, but why did Apple make GarageBand in the first place? Was there really that many customers wanting to make music on their Mac? Well, in order to understand why Apple wanted a free music making app for beginners, you need to understand Apple's goal for the Macintosh during that time. Because the iMac had been a very successful product for the company, and Apple had been slowly releasing new software for the machine to make it even more appealing and valuable for customers. They also wanted to reinforce their reputation of being the go-to computer brand for creatives. For example, there was iMovie in 1999, iDVD in 2001, and iPhoto in 2002. And all of these applications empowered users to express their creativity in different ways, which worked to differentiate the machine from its competition and attract new customers. So it made sense for Apple to offer the everyday Mac user a simple piece of software to easily create high-quality music. But there was a problem, because Apple really didn't have any expertise in the area, so they took the acquisition approach, buying a company called eMagic in July 2002, which was run by Dr. Gerard Langling. eMagic had developed their music creation software back in 1993 called Noted or Logic, which was originally only available on Atari machines. And the software accomplished something pretty impressive, because it integrated track-based operations with pattern-based operations, something uncommon in other music applications at the time. But Noted or Logic didn't achieve any high level of success until it was rewritten with an object-oriented graphic user interface, which allowed it to be ported to the Mac and Windows PCs. This was also when eMagic changed the name of Noted or Logic to simply Logic. Now, as the application grew in popularity, it caught Apple's attention. That's why the company eventually acquired eMagic, along with its creator, Dr. Langling, and used their technology as the foundation of Apple's own Logic music creation app. But Apple knew Logic was a complex piece of software that would only serve professionals. So they asked Langling to simplify Logic in order to make it accessible to everyday Mac users. And this led to the creation of GarageBand, which was eventually introduced at Macworld in January 2004. It featured digital audio recording, MIDI sequencing, virtual instruments, and support for plugin effects. So from the start, GarageBand really did offer users a full-featured music creation experience in a user-friendly style. And in order to convince people that GarageBand was a very capable piece of software, Apple had John Mayer demo it on stage during its introduction, which gave the application quite a bit of credibility. But not everyone agreed that GarageBand could serve as a suitable piece of music creation software. Some were critical of the 16-bit maximum recording quality and 44.1 kHz sample rate, which were much lower than its professional level counterparts. Also, GarageBand could only record one track at a time, which may be sufficient for amateurs, but didn't cut it for professional artists. Now, what users probably loved most about GarageBand was its price, because it was included with every Mac for free as part of the iLife suite. But if previous Mac users wanted to upgrade to the latest version of the software, it had to be purchased. And this was only the beginning for GarageBand, because over the next few years, Apple added new features and capabilities with every new version of iLife. In 2005, GarageBand was capable of recording up to 8 tracks at once, and users could view and edit music in musical notation. While in 2006, users could include mid-track tempo changes and more than 200 sound effects or jingles in their podcasts. And alongside these regular updates to GarageBand, Apple began promoting expansion software called Jam Packs, which included collections of loops, samples, and software instruments designed to expand the creative capabilities of the standard application. Apple ended up creating 5 different Jam Pack expansions, which were sold for $99 each. And GarageBand also served as a great gateway to their professional music software called Logic that I mentioned earlier, because every project created with GarageBand could be opened in Logic, along with all the Apple loops and plugins. So if users felt like they were outgrowing GarageBand and desired a more capable piece of music creation software, they would likely purchase Logic from Apple rather than looking to other companies. But it wasn't just software extras that Apple sold for GarageBand. They had a close relationship with Apogee and M Audio, which led to the creation of some high-quality hardware accessories designed to work specifically with GarageBand. And as a result, their products actually received official endorsements from Apple. These accessories included audio interfaces called the Apogee 1 and M Audio iControl, which was actually designed to resemble GarageBand's user interface. There was also the Apogee GIO interface, which functioned as a pedal board for guitar players and controlled the effects and amp simulators in GarageBand. Now, in the summer of 2007, GarageBand was updated once again with the new iLife 08 suite of applications, and some of the additions were 24-bit recording and exporting, multiple takes on one track, note and chord name displays for software instruments, the ability to print musical notation, new effects, and more advanced automation controls. But one of the headlining features of this update was something called Magic GarageBand, which allowed users to assemble custom jam sessions and backing tracks by simply selecting a genre and a few instruments. But in 2009, Apple introduced one of my favorite features to GarageBand, and that was music lessons. Now, there were 2 types of lessons users could download: basic lessons, which were free and taught the fundamentals of piano or guitar, and artist lessons, which could be purchased for $4.99 each. Now, artist lessons were special in that an actual musician like Sting would teach users how to play their song, so users could simply attach a MIDI keyboard or guitar to their computer and actually play along with the artist, something I thought was pretty incredible at the time. Now, in 2010, GarageBand was given a small update which included Flex Time, a tool that adjusted the rhythm of a recording, the capability to match the tempo of one track with another instantly, and 22 new lessons for guitar and piano, along with a new How Did I Play feature to measure how well the user performed during a lesson. And as of GarageBand 10.3, Apple included 1,000 new loops and made all the artist lessons free, which is good news. But the bad news is that it doesn't appear there'll be any new artist lessons for GarageBand in the future. Now, in 2011, Apple released a version of GarageBand for iOS, and although the app was available on the iPhone and iPod Touch, Apple focused primarily on the iPad when promoting it. And GarageBand for iOS actually had an impressive amount of features that were comparable to the macOS version. It had on-screen instruments, smart instruments, multi-track recording, stomp box effects, and guitar amps. Although there were features missing, like no music lessons, only 3 time signatures, no initial MIDI support, and limited exporting options. But I should also mention that the iOS version of GarageBand did have a couple features the desktop version did not, and those were a sound library which provided free downloadable content like additional keyboards, drum sets, and more, and something called audio unit extensions, which were available through the App Store. Now, when GarageBand for iOS was first released, it was a $6.99 download from the App Store. But as of 2017, Apple made GarageBand completely free for all iOS users. In recent years, it appears that Apple isn't as focused on GarageBand as they had been during its early days, because updates to the application aren't nearly as regular as it once was, and this has brought into question what plans Apple might have for the future of GarageBand. Now, I don't think they'll be discontinuing the app anytime soon, but it wouldn't be a complete surprise if they did. Because remember, Apple has discontinued popular software without warning before. They did it in 2011 with iDVD and in 2015 with Aperture. So the precedent has been set, but I think GarageBand is in a different circumstance, so it wouldn't really make sense for Apple to stop offering it. Now, GarageBand may be simplistic in comparison to other professional music creation apps, but it's still a very capable piece of software that's simple enough to be used by almost anyone. So rather than concentrating on what it can't do, consider just how incredible it is that so many advanced features have been included in a piece of software that's free for every Mac user. So that is the history of GarageBand, and if you want to vote for the next video topic, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.